Welcome to Paradise Love and Veggies. I'm Samantha James. I'm super excited about today's episode. I'm a little bit hesitant about today's episode, but I'm super excited at the same time. My show is about stories. It's been about my story, and in season 3, we started telling other people's story. And I got to thinking that's what life is about. It's about stories and all the stories that come together to make a life. So for today, our last episode in the season, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my life. I haven't always been a farmer by any means. It's been a very long, convoluted road to get to where I'm at. And hi, Ruby. And this is my dog, Ruby. And she's really excited about today's show. So I was born in Southern California, which I often don't admit to people. When people ask where I'm from, I generally say my mother, because most Washingtonians certainly don't want anyone coming to their state because it's a gorgeous state and we like to keep it all for ourselves. But I have been here for a number of years, since 2000, so I feel like I've kind of earned being a Washingtonian. So this is Ruby's treat ball, and this is what she wants me to give her, which you're not going to get it right now. You're just not. Sorry, Mama's recording a video. You're going to have to just be patient, okay? Hi. You want to be on the show too? You do? Look over there. So when I was in my early 20s, I moved to Alaska, and I was there for 8 years, which was really great for me because it really helped me get out of the California vibe. I never liked California. I'm not a California girl. Well, I guess, you'll always be a California girl if you're born there. However, it was just not my speed and not my style. So Alaska was really great. I learned how to fish. I ended up getting an endorsement through the U.S. Coast Guard to teach marine safety. And that was actually after a class that I took. I had a lot of friends who were fishermen, and they would talk about fish and fisheries, and I knew nothing about it. And so I saw at the local vocational school that there was a class of fishing techniques. It was a certification class. So I joined the class. I joined a week chunk because that's what they allowed you to join. And it was called Fishing Techniques. And I thought this would be great. I'll understand what my friends are talking about, and I'll be able to, just understand more about my local friends and the local fishing community. So after that week, I found out that it was a 12-week course, and I wanted to join. And they said, sorry, you can't join because you're not native. And I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. And so I actually solicited the native tribe. At the time, I was the first person who actually asked and got permission to join the 12-week course, and I had to make up a couple weeks of school time. And I ended up getting a fishing vessel certificate, which was really cool. And from there, I ended up working for a marine safety company. There was nothing going on. I was in Seward, Alaska at the time. There was nothing going on there as far as commercial sales for marine safety equipment, which really struck me as odd because there were so many boats there. And everyone needed, you need EPIRBs, you need, life vests, you need safety equipment. And so I was super excited that this company offered me a job, and so I worked out of a little storage unit, and I got to go around and tour boats, which was super exciting, and I just loved that. And so I did that for a while and taught marine safety on boats and certified boats. But what I found out is being a female, guys don't really want you on their boat, which is really a drag. But guys really didn't want me on their boat. So as much as I was able to certify, a lot of times it just didn't. they just weren't interested in my services because they didn't want a female. So after I kind of played around in Alaska and did my fisherman thing, um, I came back to Washington. It was the first time I say came back, but it's just because I feel like I've always been here my whole life because I love Washington so much. So I moved to North Bend and I lived there for a while and I remodeled a house on Little Mount Si in North Bend, and that was quite an experience dealing with hikers who would come up and want to get water from my water hose. I'm like, this is private property, but they're like, oh, we just want a little bit of water, no problem. I'm like, but this is private property. Not that I don't want you to have water, obviously, for your hike, but you should have come prepared because now you're. So from North Bend, I ended up moving to Spokane, which was a really awesome experience. I ended up buying a home there and ended up working for, I had a temporary job with a big bank. I guess I shouldn't probably name the name. I had a job with a big bank and I did merchant services, which is the credit card processing end of banking services. So I worked there in the call center and then I got headhunted and I got a really great job offer and I worked for a different company, which was awesome because I expanded my skills, which ended up leading me to being able to do sales, which led me to Silverdale, which is in Kitsap County. And I worked for a local bank and I really, really wanted to run their merchant service section. And I was super excited about that, but I found out that actually they weren't ready for me quite yet, but they wanted to hire me because I had great references and I had great service skills. So I ended up taking over the banking lunch hours and doing like a teller job, which I really hated. It's really uncomfortable when you ask people for their ID and they're offended. Like, why are you asking me for my ID? Well, because I work at the bank and you want to cash a check. So I worked there for a while, but I found out that I actually couldn't do the merchant service program that I wanted to do for about 3 years till a lady till she retired. So I left my notes there and I ended up working for a mortgage company and I did mortgages for a while, which was really cool because I loved finding homes for people and being able to, I worked with a lot of military families, which was awesome. And so I did that for a while, and then where did I go from there? Okay, so I did merchant services for a while. I did mortgages. Okay, so then I went back to merchant services and I actually kind of did my own thing, but I changed from working in a call center to doing like service, like and doing sales. So I'd actually sell merchant service accounts, which was really cool because I got commission. I made pretty good money. And if you know me now, just side note, I'm not really into the money of stuff, but you have to make money to survive in this world. And so I worked in doing my own merchant services for a while. My granny, my favorite relative, I miss her so much with all my heart. My granny was really sick in Southern California, so I ended up transferring my job there. By this time, I was actually working for a merchant service company and doing like service calls, which was really awesome because there wasn't the pressure of having to do sales. And I got paid a salary. I went to Southern California, and the job was totally different there. Oh my gosh, it was so different. So back in Washington, I was like ranked number one. I was getting all these awards. I was like service rep of the month every month. And then I went to Southern California, and they're sending me on this like goose chase every day. I'm having to go like between like 5 counties. And if you've ever been to Southern California, it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty at all. There's tons of traffic. There's tons of jerks on the road during the traffic. And it was really, really frightening. I'd have to go to these places. One time, I actually had to go to the service call for this cleaning company, and she said, "Come back with me to the office." And I said, "Okay." And so I walked with her back to this office, and she said, "Be careful, don't lean into the monkey as we go in my office." I'm like, "What? A monkey? Huh?" And so there's a huge monkey, like it's a huge cage. It's a huge, huge monkey cage. And so I kind of lean back, and so we have our meeting, everything's fine. And so as I'm leaving, I kind of forget about the monkey because the monkey seemed, fine. And when I was leaving, the monkey actually reached his paw out and swiped me. He just clawed me. And I got a big old scratch on my arm from a monkey. Like, who does that happen in a banking job? Like, how does that happen? This is my life. And so I was like, okay. So I went out. I'm like in not a good area. So I was, first of all, glad that I had all my hubcaps and my car intact when I got out. But I was also really glad that I had a minute and I had some rubbing alcohol, which I used to use to clean credit card terminals, so I could actually clean my wound from this monkey swipe. Oh my gosh, it was the craziest thing ever. Okay, so I did that for a while, and then I started my own company doing merchant services, which worked out okay. I was kind of freelance doing. I went back to sales, and sales is really hard. If you've never done sales, it's really, really hard. All your money is basically based on what you produce. You don't go to a job every day and get paid. You have to make every single, you're working 24/7, you're trying to build relationships. You go to eat, you go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station, you're always constantly thinking, how can I get a new client? How can I get a new person in my sales pipeline? It's really intense. So that didn't work so great for me. So I finally left Southern California. So once I got back to Washington, it was kind of a miss for a little bit. I really didn't know what to do. I started doing merchant services again because that was kind of all my fallback. I've done bartending before. When I was in Alaska, I've been a garbage truck driver. Well, not driver, but garbage truck employee dumper from the dumpsters. I've done a lot of things. And so I was just so glad to get back into Washington State. It made me so happy. I lived in downtown Port Orchard, and I had an opportunity to kind of use all the things that I've learned throughout my life. Merchant services. I had been building websites, so I started building websites. Um, helping business service stuff, which was awesome. And so I kind of created my own little business. And then I started doing a show called Port Orchard Living, which I paid a lot of money to a gentleman who helped me film and produce that show. And there was a lot of ups and downs. It didn't go exactly how I wanted to go, but I did get to record some great things that were happening in the town and spread some information about the food bank for Kitsap or for Port Orchard there, and at the time the Port Orchard downtown open market was going in, which is really exciting. So I got to report on that, and then I started working for BCAT, which is Bremerton Kitsap Access Television, which was awesome, and that was super cool. I worked for a show called Cruising Kitsap, and oh my gosh, I love that so much. So there was actually a professional videographer, and he was awesome. So I would find the shows I wanted to do, or kind of the subjects, and then we would go and film, and he put it all together, and I loved that so much. I was very happy doing the show for the Access Television channel. And then they said, sorry, show's over. Our film guy is leaving, and that's it. Which I was really heartbroken because I really loved doing that show. I've always had a knack, or at least what I think is a talent for telling stories. And that's what brought me to actually wanting to do this episode today because everything is about stories. Our whole lives are based on story upon story and history, which is stories. It's people's stories. And so I thought, what a great episode for the end of season 3 to actually tell my story and how I got into farming and how I got into doing Paradise Living Veggies. Not everyone knows what they want to do right away. When you're in high school, you think, oh, I want to be an architect, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, and that's great. And then maybe you do, and maybe you go to college, and then maybe that's what happens. But a lot of times, for a lot of us, that's not what happens. And we end up finding what we want to do much later in life. I'm 50 now, and I had no idea in my 20s or my 30s, well, in most of my 40s, that I would actually want to be a farmer, or I would want to grow vegetables, or have a place where people could come and I could show them around and teach them about vegetables and herbs and how to grow them and how to eat them. I just had no idea. I didn't know that was me. And I came to Port Townsend. I fell in love with Egg and I Road. For some reason, that road resonated with me so much. I can't explain it. And it's something when people come to see me today, I always am like, let's go by Egg and I Road because it's just so cool. And so I had made a plan to move to Port Townsend within 10 years. And I ended up doing so, not in the way that I thought, but nonetheless, I made it here. So I had a major surgery a number of years ago, and after I kind of healed from it, I had met a gal through the Kitsap Food Co-op, and her mom was a farmer. So that's how I met Farmer Nikki, and you've all seen her in the shows that I've done. I love Farmer Nikki so much, and she's a great mentor to me and a great, wonderful friend, and just has such a great spirit. So I met her, and that is pretty much what got me into farming. I started working for her. I worked as much for her as I could. I was working, she's like, I can't really pay you, but I can kind of give you trade of eggs or whatever. And I was like, that's fine, I'll work. I have some time. I'm doing okay on money from my merchant service stuff. That's fine. I'll just work. I'll just work for you. And I worked as much as I could. I sweated as much as I could planting stuff in her greenhouses. There was, oh my gosh, she had access to this other farm at the time, and I planted row after row, and these were huge, huge rows. I loved every minute of it. It was just my heart. I can't explain to you how much I love planting and watching food grow. It means the world to me.
Well, and as they say, the rest is history. I love my life. I love farming. I love doing my YouTube shows. Thank you so much for being a viewer. I really appreciate you. Season 4 is going to be amazing. I've got new things in store. So I'm going to take a little bit of time off and get the garden going. Next time we see each other, the garden will be grown up a little bit, and I'll have more stories and adventures to share with you. Thanks for watching Paradise Love and Veggies. I'm Samantha Janes, and we'll see you next time.